All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending today's webinar on COMcheck. And this webinar will be recorded, and the recording is posted to the toolkit usually within the next week or so. So give us a little time. I'll also be sending out certificates, and I do that at the end of each month. So keep an eye out for that too. If there are any issues with audio, feel free to write me in the chat. My name is Erica DeLello. I'm a project manager for Noresco. And this series is sponsored by the Colorado Energy Office with training materials created by COMcheck Associates. So Hope and I have been working on trainings just like this for the Energy Office. We've got 3 more in this Wednesday webinar series. We will be adding more series and more webinars to our Wednesday webinars, so definitely take a look at that. We'll add to that list likely in the new year. And we go off of what you guys submit in the post-training surveys. So at the end of this webinar, you'll get a pop-up and it'll ask you for any input on other topics that you guys want to hear about. So we take that to heart and we try to meet your requests. So definitely provide that feedback. It helps us to improve. Otherwise, we've got a on-demand course platform that's being developed currently that we're hoping to launch in the new year. So it'll be go at your own pace courses where you can also get CEUs for those courses that you complete. We also offer role-based trainings or group trainings upon request. So if you have a need or you want to know anything about the energy code, feel free to reach out to me and we can get something set up for your company or your building department or whoever. Okay, let's see here. Technical assistance. If you're a jurisdiction that's looking to update to the latest codes, we're here to help. We have a whole plethora of different kind of services that we offer to assist jurisdictions as they adopt the latest codes and also are enforcing the latest codes. So reach out if you have an interest and would like to hear more about that. Okay, I've got a whole bunch of resources and a lot of words on the screen right now, so it's take a screenshot, whatever. There is a lot of resources available on the toolkit, and this just kind of goes to show just the latest ones that we've been working on, and there's more coming down the pipeline. So definitely check those out. We did launch an energy code resource survey as well, and we're currently taking that input and deciding which tools and resources to create next. So stay tuned on that. Okay, and last but not least, my favorite resource is the Colorado Codes Helpline. It is a great resource for anyone working on a project in Colorado. You can submit a question, and within a couple days' time, a subject matter expert gets back to you. And so, if you're a plan reviewer that needs input on how to review or how to inspect, or if you're a homeowner or a designer, this is for you. So definitely leverage this. This is a great resource that we have available in Colorado. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and just a couple of housekeeping items. Hope, did you want me to save questions for the end or interject?
Let's interject because I think that's probably the best way because, down the road, we may not know what it was
Right.
pertaining to.
Yeah, right. Okay, perfect. So if you have a question, feel free to submit it in the Q&A or in the chat, or you can raise your hand and ask Hope directly. So you got options there. And lastly, there will be that survey window that pops up at the end. If you could please take a minute to provide that feedback, it helps us to understand how we should improve or what we should train on. Okay, so today's presenter is Hope Medina, and Hope is an energy and sustainability consultant for COMcheck Associates. So I will let you take it from here, Hope, and kick us off on COMcheck.
All right. I hope it is. There we go.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you, Erica. And I look forward to all of the wonderful questions that are going to come in because anybody who knows me knows that I appreciate questions because that's how we all learn. It's a safe space we have here. So we're going to take a look at COMcheck, and we're going to take a look at COMcheck actually from several or different perspectives. So the first is, of course, as you can see on the screen here, we have the 4 reports that COMcheck will provide for us, right? Our envelope, interior, exterior lighting, and the mechanical compliance certificates. But how we're going to look at this is we're going to see how the information does get inputted into the software itself and then see how it manifests in the report. Because I know sometimes there are questions that get provided to me concerning how do I know if the information is correct and passes when I receive these reports. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a better understanding and hopefully more trust or less trust in the information that you're getting. So there we go. So really quickly, just talking a little bit about what exactly COMcheck is. And the wonderful thing, as I mentioned before, is it does provide us information in 4 quote unquote categories of disciplines within the energy code book itself. And it does have the ability to provide reports demonstrating compliance out of the International Energy Conservation Code. It also has the ability to provide you demonstrating the provisions out of ASHRAE 90.1. So it's a flexible software that will work for either one of the energy options in there. Now, what it will do is it will create a report demonstrating compliance for the thermal envelope, interior lighting, and exterior lighting, lighting power densities, and then also mechanical provisions. Now, with that being said, the interior, exterior lighting, and mechanical compliance certificates or reports can be provided at any point with any of the energy compliance path options that are out there. Typically, you don't see them if they go performance, but if they go with the R value, the U factor option of the prescriptive path, you could get all 3 of those reports. The only one that you're going to require, depending on the compliance path, is that thermal envelope, and they would have to do the component performance alternative or the component performance method, depending on which edition of the code you're on. That one is provides the ability for trading of certain components of the thermal envelope. So otherwise, any other project could provide you those other 3 reports, and it helps in my opinion, as a plans examiner, it cuts down the amount of time it takes to review a project because that report provides so much information for me. And if used properly, and when I say used properly, this goes out to the engineers, the designers, the architects. If they fully use all of the aspects of the software, it really does walk you through and guide you exactly where you need to go, maybe on the plans and pertinent information with it. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But this resource is out there through DOE and PNNL, the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. So it's a great resource. And it's a resource that I do like to let people know, right? Because a lot of times I get the question of, why do we have to make the, next edition of the energy code more efficient? And so real quickly, how many of you have ever utilized COMcheck, whether it's I've filled out the software or I have received the report, doing a plan review or out in the field? So there's a few of you that have used this. And If our codes are not more energy efficient with each edition, we have the possibility that this particular resource actually goes away for us. So it is important to keep in mind, we have this, it's a great resource to use. Now let's see all the fun and excitement that comes with it. So I don't know if you have ever had the opportunity to go on to COMcheck and just play around in it and see how the software itself works. This is the website. You're going to go on. It'll ask you to either register or you just log in, and that's the lovely page that you see there. Then it shoots you over to a page. It actually takes you to your projects page, and you say, hey, I want to do a new project. And then this page actually opens up. And on this page, it allows you to enter all of the, what I would call basic information to let COMcheck know how and what provisions need to demonstrate that they meet what provisions out of which code type of deal. So this is an incredibly important page. It allows you to fill out information such as if you wanted to title it. I want to get my little pointer out here. If you wanted to title it, but more importantly, you would click this arrow, a drop-down menu appears. You click what edition of the code you're trying to do. Also, it says, what type of project is this? Is it going to be brand new building? Great, you hit new construction. Is it an addition or is it an alteration? And a lot of times I will get a COMcheck for an alteration or even an addition, and it will have the project type clicked as new construction. And honestly, a lot of times I'll reach out and say, hey, you want to click the alteration, because remember, when it comes to existing buildings, whether it's an addition or alteration, it's Chapter 5 that governs what's required and what's not required. So there are instances where in an alteration, there is quote unquote leniency or flexibility for alterations than there would be for new construction. So if you push new construction, you don't get that flexibility with it. So it is important to make sure that you click the correct project type for what type of work is going to be happening on that. Now, the other thing is there's this nice little part right down here that allows you to provide a little bit more information about the project. Is the project going to be all electric? Is there renewable energy that's going to be installed? Is there battery storage, EV charging? Is a heat pump going to be installed? It's important so that if this was filled out, we'll say the heat pump portion of it, because that's probably one of the really the only things that would play into this. But if you hit that heat pump, it says, yes, it's installed. Then when you get your mechanical sheet, if it doesn't include a heat pump, then you know that maybe there's been some disconnect or possibility that things change. So it's good to know. The other thing you get to do is come down here and click into the building area. In the building area, that's where you get to say it's going to be an office and it's 5,000 square feet. It's also going to have a coffee shop, a business, whatever the case. And you get to put in all of that information. So basically, you're kind of building that building inside of COMcheck without having to do like specific modeling or anything of that nature. It doesn't get into that much of the nitty gritty of things, but it does build the building for you through all of that. And then the project details is where you would enter information such as the architect is XYZ, the contractor's XYZ, the engineer's XYZ type of information. All right. So once you enter all of that information, that is what we get right here, typically at the top of the report, of the first page, right? It told us, we picked that we were doing an office. We titled this as an office in Colorado. We know that the location for it is going to be Grand Junction, which translates because once you enter the location, it automatically inputs what the climate zone is per how it's set up through the energy code book. It's telling us that it's going to be new construction. It also gives us information about our glazing to wall area. And in this particular instance, it's showing us that our vertical glazing to how much wall area we have is a 0.081. So obviously we're not exceeding the 30%, which triggers new requirements. So we know that, all right, that section of the code, I don't have to worry about. And the same can be said for our skylight roof area. It's telling us that it's only at 0.004 for that. And remember when I said that it had that additional information at the very bottom? Here's where it has our address, whoever the owner or agent is, and the designer contractor for that.
Hey, Hope, we got a question, and I believe it was on the last
Okay.
for the last
Okay.
slide. Um, are these features, in quotes, showing on the screen coming from the Colorado Solar Ready requirements?
They are not. The features that you see here, uh, you could put in any location, and for the most part, they would be here. COMcheck has a generalized version of it that can be applied to any location, but there are locations that have paid for a specific COMcheck that would incorporate things such as, the Colorado Solar Ready provisions. Currently, that is not what we are seeing on the screen. Great question. Glad you brought that up. All right. So now what we're going to do, you can see on the left-hand side here, is we're building our thermal envelope. And in this particular instance, what we're doing is we're building what our roof is going to look like. So what we have shown here is we are saying that we are putting our insulation entirely above roof deck. And we happen to have that insulation as an R30. Now, I have this example on the screen because I want to talk about what we see here. What is listed as this assembly is whatever the designer wants to call this assembly. In this particular instance, the designer wanted to make it very clear that they were doing that area weighted average of the insulation above roof deck, where it had to have a minimum of an R30, but you're going to have to start off with a higher R value to do an area weighted average. And so they were explaining their design in the quote unquote title of the assembly, but where I want to make sure that they are getting the actual area weighted average number is over here on that continuous R value. So the requirement out of the code is that you're going to do an R30, right? If you were doing this per like straight R value, if your insulation above roof deck in a climate zone 5B would have to be R30. Well, you're going to have tapering because we have to have roof drains and so forth. So you're going to have sections that are going to be below that 30. So you have to start off above that. And that's what this is explaining right here in that assembly. Now, we also have a skylight. That skylight is only 50 square feet. And it currently has a U factor of 0.45 and a solar heat gain coefficient of 0.4 and a visible transmittance of 0.4. Now, in the energy code, in the IECC, there's not a whole lot of criteria when it comes to visible transmittance, but it is a big requirement out of ASHRAE 90.1. So when you are building this, the components that you see on the screen here don't differ from what's required with 90.1 and what's required in the IECC in this particular instance. So here is what our roof components that are going into the report. And if we come here, here is our exterior walls. Now, when you look at this, it says, here's our exterior walls. It's telling us it's going to be a metal frame, 16 inches on center. There's 6,000 square gross area of it. It's going to contain an R20 cavity and a 7.5 continuous. And then you'll notice that right below it, it has a window, but it has a nice little, this notation right here where it's a little arrow. And what that arrow means is in the software itself, you assigned that window to be located in that exterior wall. And so the windows happen to be vinyl fiberglass frame. It's got 384 gross area of it. It's got a U factor of 0.32, solar heat gain of 0.25, visible transmittance of 4, and a projection factor of 0.2. This is one of those times that, you know, when we talk about projection factor, that the information can be placed here in the report. And the same can be said for the entrance door. This is an entrance door that's glazing. It's over 50%. So it has this input, whereas the door below it is not a glazing fenestration door. It's an opaque door. And so it has different criteria that it's going to input there. All right, then we have our floor. Our floor happens to be slab on grade. It's an unheated floor. We're saying that we're putting, in this particular instance, you'll notice it has gross area / slab perimeter, because when we do our slab edge insulation, it's not done by the gross area. It's done by the linear feet, and the slab perimeter is how they're trying to capture that linear feet concept for it. And then we have a depth of 3 feet on that. Now, when everything is culminated with what is put into the software, this is what our report looks like. So as you can see, here's our roof, how it was labeled. If you remember, if we went back and looked at how it was entered into the software, it says R35 tapered for an R30 average. Wonderful. That makes it very clear. And then to ensure that it's correct, where the continuous insulation R value is, it specifies R30, which is what it had to be for that area weighted average. It wouldn't show an R35 because that's not what the average they're trying to get to. That's their starting off point. Then we have our floor. So we know that we have our R10 continuous insulation. Our 3 feet is located over on this side. Our exterior walls, we have that R20 cavity, 7.5 continuous. This is what our design gives us. This row, our proposed U factor row, is when you add your cavity and continuous, and you do the U factor it, that's what our proposed U factor is. And then the last row there is our budgeted U factor. And that's what the U factor maximums are out of the code book itself. So if you're only permitted to have a 0.32 or 0.032, and you're proposing that you're going to put in a 0.032, there's no trading ability for it. But you, on the next one for the floor, the slab, it says that you were allowed to go all the way up to a 0.52 as your budgeted U factor, and you only used a 0.51. That means that you have a 0.01 that's in the bank that you can trade other items up and use that instead of it. Does that make sense for everyone? Yay, nay? All right, I'm going to go with that it makes sense because I don't see any questions popping up on it. Here's our window information, right? in the assembly description, it gives us what the U factor is, our solar heat gain coefficient requirements. It also has what was our projection factor. How many of you knew that you saw PF 0.2 and knew that that was being specified as the projection factor? Great question, Brian. So what they're saying with the proposed U factor is what you're proposing your design to be. The budgeted U factor is how much is called out by code. That's the maximum number that the code permits. The proposed values are the ones that you're either putting into the bank or pulling from the bank and determining whether or not your thermal envelope actually passes. Does that make sense, Brian? All right, I'm going to go with we're good on that. All right, so in this, when everything is said and done, you look at all the information that's listed here, and then of course we're looking for that green bar. I think we all live and die by the green bar, right? So that green bar lets us know whether or not a project passes, whether it's the thermal envelope or it's the interior lighting. We look for that red bar. And in this particular instance, it's telling us, yes, the thermal envelope passes. It only passes by 1%. So that means everything has to be spot on to ensure that we don't go in there. If by chance it exceeded by 10%, it's like, whoo, okay, you have some breathability. But if you're at 1%, that means no changes. All right, now let's take a look at the interior lighting fixture. So this again is a fun one to fill out. When you go in and you start, yes, my apologies, Brian. You are correct. It is lower. The proposed number here is lower than what the budgeted is, meaning that the design that they're calling out in the specifications on the software shows that you're just the tiniest bit better than what the code allows. All right, so jumping back to our interior lighting fixtures. So in this particular instance, it's a lot of fun trying to get this to work. But you go in, you talk about your office. You say, this is what we have. You get to put in the software, the area part. You're going to say, oh, it was 12,500. And then it tells you what your wattage per square foot allowance is out of the table. So because in this option, it's the building area, it's an office, utilizing the percentages here, the 12,500 multiplied by the 0.64, in the space by space option, it says that you are allowed 7,625. If you're using the building area method, it's saying that you have the ability to go all the way up to 8,000 on it. Now, if we look at this lower part right here, we're saying that the office, it's a completely open office. So it's not broken up by rooms or anything of that nature. And so the space is 12,500. Says the lighting power density is a 0.61. And then this is the lights that are going to go into that space. So this is like the overarching space. And then you start talking about the different types of lights that are going into that space. So here we have a light that they're calling high. And this, if you see the little, arrow deal, is saying that this high is attached to the space called office. And then we have interior, and you come all the way over here and you put in the number of fixtures that are going to be. So there's 77 high fixtures and 26 interior fixtures. And the high fixtures have a wattage of 63. The interior has a wattage of 35. And then there's a portion that you get to click on that says, is this an exemption? Because there are some exemptions that are permitted, such as maybe you have lighting, highlighting the national flag. That's exempt from the requirements of or artwork. That lighting is exempt from having to be included in lighting power density. So there's some exemptions that come into that you get to click on and utilize. Then when you get your report here, here's the information, right? Our space, they called it office open plan. Here's our floor area. Our allowable watts was 0.61, and that gave us the opportunity that we get 8,000 allowable wattage for this project. This is our basic, like designing it. This is our maximum number that we get to have. And then below this is the proposed, what your proposed design, what it offers. And this is where it had that high lighting and interior lighting, the values and all of that is what we see showing up down here. So our highlighting 77 fixtures, the watts for each of those 77 fixtures is 63. So when we multiply that, that gives us the 4,851. And our interior lighting, 26 of them, it's got a wattage of 35. That gives us 910. So our total is 5,761. So this would pass because this number is less than the maximum amount of lighting power density we were permitted for what the code states. Now, we are not done with the interior lighting on this. Our interior lighting section of the software also includes the ability to call out the controls that are going to be installed here. Now you'll notice, what we see on the screen here. So it says for our lighting designated as high, it's saying that we are going to have a manual control. It's also going to be on an interior time switch. There's no light reduction control on it. There's no daylight responsive, but it is also on an occupancy sensor. And none of the lights fits under the criteria of the specific application controls. And then the same can be said when you look at the interior side of it. It gives us all that information. Now you'll notice all it has on this software is it says, yes, it's there, or no, it's not included in the design. When we look at the COMcheck report, how this can be helpful for us, because it's not saying that it meets the criteria out of the energy code, because we're not specific enough as to this light is located in this condition under, or in this space under this condition, so it needs to have this control. COMcheck can't do that, but what it does have is this part down here below your allowed wattage, your proposed wattage, and then it has what your proposed interior lighting controls are. And it's saying for these two fixtures, these are the lighting controls that could be included in this. So what this does is it gives you an extra tool that you can take it and then go to your plans and say, okay, well, COMcheck says that we have these three controls that are going to be installed. And then you can look at the plans and say, yes, they have these three controls being installed with it, and it does work. Again, this green bar down here is talking about the interior lighting and not whether or not the lighting controls pass or not. All right. Now, let's talk about our exterior lighting. In this particular instance, before we do anything with our exterior lighting, before we can get the report, before we can even put any of the information in for the report, we really have to take into account and pick the correct lighting zone for the project. So as you can see on the screen, when you click that button, which you can't see right now because the thing pops up over it, there's a zone. And as you can see here, we're saying that this is going into a neighborhood business district, which happens to be lighting zone 2. And so if we come over here, oh, this is the wrong, oh no, there it is. It shows me that we picked neighborhood business district lighting zone 2. Anybody know why that's important to know? Well, it's important to know because that really determines how much lighting you're allowed to have and whether you fall under certain parameters that you get to have some extra lighting that goes into all of that, or if your lighting is reduced with it. So lighting zone is incredibly important to know. The next part of this is, okay, just like the interior lighting, we are, specifying the locations that the lighting's going to be in and what that lighting is that's going to be in the location. So when we talk about exterior lighting, there are a lot of categories, in that table. So in this particular design, we've got lighting for the parking lot, we've got lighting for the landscaping, we've got lighting at the entrance, and then we have exterior building lighting. And within each of these spaces, we have the lighting that is associated with it. And again, you get to call the lighting whatever you want to call it. In this instance, the parking lot lighting has parking lot, or the parking lot has parking lighting that's attached to it. Remember, that's what that symbol right here is. Now they're saying that the lighting here is a halogen. And so it's calling out that you have 4 fixtures that fall under that, and that the wattage for those fixtures is 45 watts. And then the same can be said when we talk about landscape. It's got landscape lighting. There's 2 of them. It's got 5 watts. Our entrance is using high. It's an LED. It has 1 fixture, and that fixture has a wattage of 63. The exterior building has exterior lighting LEDs. There's 18 of them. It's got 15, and those are the numbers there. And if you notice down here at the bottom, it starts giving you wattages depending on the whole category of things. And so here is the report as it's broken down. So you'll notice that it includes the 4 categories. Oops. It also includes the areas for it. This is the amount of watts that are permitted per what is in the code book. It also talks about tradable wattage. That's not really something that's looked at anymore. There used to be trading available. And then ultimately, when you do the math with B and C, it's the total watts for each of these categories of lighting. And then here is the ultimate total of lighting that is available here. Now, this part, the below that is now the proposed lighting, because it gives you, here's what you're permitted, and then below that is the category of this is what we would like to do. And in showing what we would like to do, it has the green bar or the red bar that tells us yay or nay on it. And you can see here that our lightage that we have is giving us that 270 here. That doesn't seem right. I'll have to look at that in a minute. Sorry. Also, there are controls that are required when it comes to that exterior lighting criteria. It's just like the interior lighting of the controls. It's saying, okay, so we are saying, yes, it has this one, or no, it doesn't have that one. Not that it necessarily is complying with what the code is, but in this area is where they're saying we're going to put these types of controls on these types of lighting. You still would need to verify it on the plans that it has it, but it does call out the type of controls that they're intending to have placed on parking lot lighting and landscaping and entrance and the exterior building lights. Now let's take a look at the mechanical systems, right? So in the mechanical system, this compliance report is so incredibly important and provides us with so much information to really assist us in demonstrating compliance, because the reality is that out of the code book, 403 is probably the least utilized and maybe the least understandable section of the energy code. Unless you've been dealing in the mechanical systems, then it probably makes a lot of sense. But if you're coming from not having a mechanical background, this report actually really helps in the navigation, and it helps you to get a better understanding of what they're calling out for. And maybe it's just helping us dive into C403 a lot more. But here is our HVAC system. This is what they're calling it. This is how many of them there are. Whenever you have a report, they should tell you, I'm having 5 of these, 2 of these, however many. This is where it comes in. In that system, it's saying that our heating equipment is a central furnace. There's one of them. Here's our capacity, what our fuel type is, what our proposed efficiency, and then it has what our required efficiency is. Same for our cooling. Now, I've had questions about how do I know if the efficiencies are actually accurate? And the nice thing is, if it isn't accurate, it'll pop up and tell you that it's not accurate. But once all this is put in, we come over to the screen here, and it gives us a whole lot of information. So if we took a look at our HVAC equipment, our heating, it says, all right, we got a central furnace. It tells us our fuel type on it. This is one of those times too that it's incredibly important. If you remember at the very beginning of the class, it had a button on there that says this is an all-electric building. So if that button was clicked as an all-electric building and you get to the HVAC equipment and it says gas, that's okay, maybe I need to ask the question about what's going on here, right? It's a button that maybe needs to be unclicked or whatever the case may be, but it is something to be, aware of. We've got our efficiencies, being provided here. And very importantly, under our air conditioning or our cooling, it's letting us know that we have an economizer, which if we went prescriptive in our compliance path, we are required to design it to include an economizer unless you happen to fit one of the exceptions. And the nice thing is, if there's an exception utilized for the economizer, it shows up right here where it says economizer. It'll say economizer exception X, right? Which is wonderful because this tiny little, I'll call it a paragraph, just took out a whole bunch of sections out of the energy code book, right? Out of 403 specifically. Now, the next thing is dealing with those fan systems. And there's a lot of criteria. And this section, again, is incredibly confusing to people who may not have been in the mechanical world and trying to read it and trying to digest it. And how do I know if that's correct on the plans? Well, don't worry. Mechanical COMcheck has you covered in this. It's so wonderful. So in the software, It comes in here because there are two options of compliance paths, right? You can go with the motor nameplate horsepower, or you can go with the brake horsepower on that. It tells you the areas that are served. It gives you information as to, in this particular instance, the supply side, the return side, and their fan efficiency index, a requirement out of the code. And then if we come down here, here is where it happens to be located, and it gives us information, right? I know it's a VAV system. Wonderful. It has a fan efficiency rate of 1. And then, like I said, the report, if anything was wrong with it, there's like this little red highlighted bar. It's not strong red, it's just a light red. And it says, hey, fan efficiency doesn't meet criteria, or whatever the case may be. And that lets us know, all right, we need to go back and fix this. All right, so let's say they're not going to utilize a forced air system. There is an option in here that it's called plants, and it gives us information if we were going to use a boiler for the system. And so this boiler, it gives us information down here, right? We labeled it as ASD. It's heating. It's a hot water boiler. It's giving us what our capacity is. It was 100,000 BTUs. What's listed as unknown here? Oh, the path. And then it says it's with a water loop heat pump. Its proposed efficiency is 85% AFUE, and then the required efficiency is 84. So it's a little bit better than what the minimum requirement would be in all of this. And so wonderful. Look at that. Boilers gave us the information that we needed to have. Now, something that isn't always provided, but if you have equipment that's going to be heating water for service water heating, right? So that, we have hot showers or whatever the case may be. There's a page here or a tab here to address it. So you would put the type of system that's going in there, how many you're doing, what capacity it's going to have, what the fuel source is. Again, really important to know so that we have that, matching up with everything. What the input rate is there any additional equipment to it, such as, does it have a circulation pump? Is it part of the loop? That would go into that additional equipment. It's a drop down, they click it, and there it is. And then whatever the proposed efficiency is, and then what the required efficiency happens to be. In the code books from 21 and older codes, the requirement for the water heating efficiency hasn't been maybe as robust. Under the 24, it gets a little bit more robust. And if you notice, even when you go into the section that has in the 21 and earlier, the equation that's in there, it's kind of hard to figure out, right? So the great news is some of the reasons why that's in the code book as it is that they need it in the code book to be able to input it into the COMcheck software. So that equation is going to be included in here. And when it is required to have an efficiency to it, then it'll show it right here. But ultimately, as you can see down here at the bottom, it's telling us it's a gas storage water heater. The capacity is that 100,000 gallons. It also tells us what's our input rating. That's that 75 kBTUs. Now, remember here, it said additional equipment. It says yes here. Here's where it shows up. Okay, circulation pump. So that additional equipment that's being installed with it that you get a capture is showing that heat pump for it. And then we have where it demonstrates that there is no actual minimum efficiency requirements for this type of equipment out of the code book in this instance. All right. So again, we're looking at the additional efficiency credits. Now, what I'm going to preface this is the information that we are talking about will be the 2021 version of what the additional efficiency credits are. I was a little worried about time wise on it. And since most of us are probably around the 21 a little bit more, but as we know in the 24, the credits changed drastically. Instead of the one credit, we have two credit requirements. And so for that, it's a little bit different, but this gives you at least an idea of how it works. So in this particular instance, the additional efficiency credits that they went with was the reduced lighting power on it, because this happened to be, because remember, you have to get 10 credits. This happened to be one that got them 22 credits. Anybody know why they got 22 credits as opposed to just, the number that's in the table? So for the reduced lighting power option out of the additional efficiency credits, that percentage, when you are 15% better than what the base code is, at that point, you get to do an equation, and the equation determines how many points you actually get. So if you're really, really efficient with your lighting, then it will pop up and you might get, I've seen reports come in that says they are at like 80, they have 80 credits, additional efficiency credits from it, because they are so energy efficient with their lighting that they get to take all that credit for it. And so here's an example where we find this is on the only place we typically are finding it now under the 21 is on that top, that first page on the top there that's giving us all the information, right? What code we're doing, the title, all this information that we see right here. And then underneath that is our energy credits. And under those energy credits, it says, oh, hey, they did reduce lighting power and, they're getting 22 credits. It's letting us know. All right. So it says reduce lighting power densities. When we went into our interior lighting, you would then ensure that they are at least being that 15% better than code, right? If they're right at the cusp of it, they're allowed 8,000 watts and they're at 7,998 watts. Obviously, they didn't meet the criteria for this additional credit. And so it is incredibly important. And I like the fact that it's listed on that front page of the report. Now, this goes out to all of my designers who are in here. Please take the time. You might think it's very tedious, and it can be, don't get me wrong. But these tabs that we have here, and clicking on saying, yes, it is a part of the plan. Yes, I am saying that it meets the criteria. And in certain instances, such as if you were clicking on the installation, right, it gives you the opportunity to fill it out. But the information that we have here and that gets clicked here translates over onto this inspection checklist. The inspection checklist is kind of misleading in all of it, because you can use it for both plan review as your plan review checklist, and you can also use it as an inspection out in the field checklist. So in this instance, right, they clicked that C103.2, they clicked the button saying, yes, this is compliant with it. There's also a drop-down menu, like I said, that you can fill it out. And when you fill it out, you can say things like, the location for this information is on sheet A1. I will tell you, if you took the time, and it's not a lot of time to do this, but if you took the time to tell the plans examiner exactly what sheet this is on, if I have my choice where I know a plan is going to take me 7 hours to do, or I have there you go, Justin. I have the opportunity that I have something like this that's going to reduce my time by half. I'm going to pick the one that's going to make it easier for me and get that one out, done out of the way, because I know that more difficult, less uh, plan reviewer friendly. I know that one's going to take more time for me. The other thing that I wanted to show you is here's an example, right? Under insulation, it says I'm clicking that it meets the requirement. The skylight curbs, C402.2.1.5 skylight, let me try this again. Skylight curbs are insulated to the level of the roof with insulation above roof deck or an R5. And I say, yes, it meets it because this is part of my project, right? I have skylight, so I have curbs. So I say, yes, that's what the check mark is saying. Here it says it meets the requirement. And then it says where it meets the requirement. That's what that A5 tells me is I know exactly if I need to find that information, I go to A5 and that takes care of it for me. So here's an example of where information was actually put in to it. It's incredibly helpful in, like I said, doing a review, walking you through it, let alone when an inspector is out in the field, right? It's great to get it on paper, but if we're not getting it out into the field and getting it in the field, this is where we can help everyone, including the contractors, the inspectors out in the field, to actually manifest what we have designed for it. Oh yeah, Brian, that's a great comment that the inspection checklist is a good way to cross coordinate between the architect who may be filling out the envelope portion and the engineers who may be filling out the electrical and mechanical. It's absolutely right. I like the idea of that cross communication. And I would say it's also cross communication for that plans examiner and the inspector too, making sure everybody's on the same page for all of this. Now, the last part I just wanted to go over briefly, and I'm sure everybody is fully aware of it, but you should never assume that everybody understands everything that's going on with these reports. So when we get those inspection checklists, right, on the left-hand side, there's squares that say, here is the section of the component that we would find out of the code book. And you'll notice it says C303.2, and then it has FO4, subset 2 on there. But more importantly, what it shows is different colors within this portion right here. So when you see those colors, it's letting us know whether this measure is going to have a high impact on energy efficiency, a medium impact on energy efficiency, or low impact on energy efficiency. And this is not a one size fits all comment here. In this instance, for an office, the slab edge insulation had a medium impact. Whereas if by chance, maybe it was a hospital, and only because I couldn't think of another deal, maybe the slab edge insulation has more of an impact. So that box may be white in that instance. So it's not, the boxes are always purple for slab edge insulation. The box is purple for this office in this design that it has a medium impact. Makes sense to everyone? That's why this is so important to fill out, because if I only have a little bit of time and I know that I need to go out and somehow get all of these inspections done, if I know, because this has been filled out properly, that if I have my choice between exterior insulation protection and slab edge insulation, that, well, you kind of do them both at the same time, or the snow melt system, having its sensors, then I know I'm going to use my time wisely where it's going to have the biggest impact for this project. So I'm going to take a look at that exterior insulation protection. Oh, there you go, Jamie. I am so glad that I was able to give you that information there. All right, I know we're at the end of the hour and you guys were great with questions, comments all throughout. Anybody have any questions that they want to ask now? While you're thinking about it, here's my contact information.
Okay, thanks so much, Hope. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.